Louisiana grown and Louisiana proud. We get to know your favorite stars, from musicians and athletes to business owners and artists. Restoral Dental presents Homegrown, a KLFY Plus exclusive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Homegrown. I'm your host, Lydia Alcala. Today, we get to talk with someone very special. I've interviewed him many times for different shows on KLFY, and now we're having him, of course, on Homegrown. It is Grammy Award-winning Zydeco musician, Chubby. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I feel special today.
I'm so happy to have you here, and we want to hear all about your life. I want to hear about growing up. You were immersed into the music world at a very young age. You branched off and did your own thing, and you're kind of settling down a little bit. So we're gonna talk about it all, Chubby. Okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's hear about your childhood. You grew up in Church Point, right?
Yes, I grew up in Church Point.
Okay,
Right.
Grandfather and father were both Zydeco musicians?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It's amazing, because I was telling my grandkids this past holiday season, I said, Papa, sitting up here just reminiscing off the days that I used to spend with my grandfather and my dad. And I said, you guys, I'm watching y'all on the couch playing your little video games, and everything is all about what they do on Nintendo, PlayStation, and all that. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow. And he said, what do you mean, Papa? What you talking about? I said, well, when I came up as a little boy, we played instruments. Mm-hmm. And we never had PlayStations and Nintendos and all this Game Boys and stuff like that. So I was telling him, I said, when I was coming up as a little boy, my grandfather played the music. And I told him, your great-grandfather, my daddy, played music as well. And he said, what that was like? I said, fascinating. It was great. Yeah. Because, you could see the family coming together. Mm-hmm. First of all, the music bring you together. Yeah. Food, culture, it always bring you together. Not let alone that we sit and play instruments together, So I told him, I said, I miss those good old days. Yeah. I said, those good old days are beyond me, and I hate to see that it went and it's gone. Mm-hmm. And I said, but I'd like to bring it back if y'all want to play some instruments with it. Yeah. And I'll give him a little taste of how I grew up this past Christmas. I said, I'm going to show you what I did. I put out the drums, bass guitar amp, guitars, washboards, scattered all over the garage. I said, now you see this? That was my PlayStation. That was my Game Boy. That was my Nintendo. Yep. And I picked each one. I chose an instrument to play. So, and my grandkids was like, well, we see you play, but we didn't know about the instruments itself. So I sat there and I taught them. I said, listen, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to play these instruments for you. Mm-hmm. And don't you know, this like remind me when my daddy and my granddaddy would play the instrument, it brought me to them. It brought them, those kids, my grandkids, to me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, y'all, they wasn't playing out in the fields anymore. They wasn't playing basketball anymore. They came to me. Because I put out my accordion, I put out the guitar, I put out a bass, I put out drums, and they was like, this is cool, cool. Just to give them a taste of it. Yeah. And I said, this is how Grandpa grew up around Christmas with the family. Yeah. Dad asked me, what was that like? I said, it was fantastic just to be with the family, just to hover around the food, the culture, the music, and itself, just well-being, So, but for me coming up, those days, I sat there every Christmas and I reminisce of the good times. Mm-hmm. I can't thank my grandfather and my daddy enough for teaching me and introducing me to Zydeco music. Mm-hmm. That's family tradition. Yeah. Everybody has some kind of family tradition. That was mine.
I know, and what a cool thing to have music as sort of the thing that your family does together, and bringing, especially strengthening that bond, I assume, between a son and a father, and like a son and a grandfather. Yeah, how cool is that?
My grandfather, my daddy, and me all playing accordions together.
That's amazing. Do you think that you would have still gotten into music had it not been for them?
No. Because like I said, if you watch sports, you see the Archie Mannings, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, got it from their daddy. Oh. They got it from somebody.
Yeah.
Do you think Peyton Manning and Eli Manning would have gotten football if their daddy wouldn't have teach them how to play football? No. Yeah. So my grandfather taught me how to play the music, and that's where I got it from, my grandfather, my dad. But coming up as a little boy, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Yeah. I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I'll tell you what, I learned so much behind that music, that culture, or what it all meant to them. Because my grandfather would tell me all the time, let me tell you something, music was my medicine, young man. Mm-hmm. I said, Grandpa, what you mean by that? Music was my medicine. I couldn't afford no psychiatrist, son. I sat down, I sang my troubles away. I said, listen to the blues. The blues, And I said, man, my baby's done left me. She's all alone. Da-da. When I'm hearing them singing the songs, they're actually singing what they went through.
Yeah.
They're telling a story.
Yeah.
And that was so fascinating to me. It was, wow. So you sung everything you just brought, you breathed out that accordion, everything that I had. It was trouble, it was money, it was finance. I sang my troubles away, son. Yeah. Music was my medicine.
Yeah. What a unique and a beautiful way to grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that so much for you. Now, we want to talk about whenever you first picked up an instrument. We'll get to that right after this break. So you guys don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about when his career really got kick-started. We'll be right back after this.
Homegrown is sponsored by Restoral Dental, making the best dentures in Lafayette. Restoral Dental.
Welcome back, everyone. Continuing our chat with Mr. Chubby Carrier here. We talked all about your childhood, growing up around music, but I want to know, when was the first time you actually picked up an instrument and started playing?
Yeah, I was actually 8 years old.
Wow.
Because the instruments was around the house all the time.
Yeah.
Daddy and granddaddy had instruments just flowing all over the utility room, and that's where they rehearsed. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, man, as a kid, we want to get ourselves into everything. You know how kids are like, get out of that, get out of this. Daddy said, if you're going to get into it, learn how to play the instrument. Mm-hmm. So you had the guitar, you had the bass, you had the drums, you had all that sitting around home. Yeah. But a kid's just never happy. I want to play with this, I want to play with that. But I couldn't find my niche. I didn't know which instrument I wanted to play. Okay. I picked up the guitar, I picked up the bass, I picked up the washboard, then I found the drums. Nobody knew this. I became a drummer before I became an accordion player. They said, what was your first instrument you played? It was the drums. Mm-hmm. I got on the drums, I started playing and said, hey, I'm liking this a lot. Yeah. And it so happened, it all came together, because you know why? My daddy had trouble with drummers.
Like keeping one in the band?
Keeping one in the band. Being late, never showing up for practice. He had trouble with the band. It's so how ironic that I'm learning how to play the drums, right?
Perfect.
That was my first instrument. And Daddy says, man, you like the drums? So I said, I love them, Dad, I love them. I won't even get in the band. I couldn't get in the high school band because they wouldn't let me play football and be in the band at that time. Yeah. So I rehearsed at home. Mm-hmm. That was my first instrument. Then all of a sudden, my daddy drummer would always show late. The guitar player come running into my house about 4 o'clock, and I say, hey, what are you doing here? Y'all supposed to be playing a show. Well, your daddy calling me because we need a drummer. I said, a drummer for what? He said, the drummer didn't show up. And we are an hour late. And he wants me to play the drums? Oh, yeah. Man,
you were excited?
Full of mud, dirt. Oh. I don't care how it looked. I just ran in that car, got to that club, and Daddy said, hey, y'all see that little boy at the door? Let him in. That's my son. He's going to play the drums with me tonight.
That's awesome. So that was your first gig?
That was my first
with the
gig.
band. That's amazing.
I mean, yes, out of nowhere.
Yeah. And how old were you at that time?
8.
8?
I was 8 years old.
Oh, my goodness. Well, fast forwarding to, how many years later, when you were 17, so... Mm-hmm. Drums first instrument at 17, you get a call from somebody pretty cool. I'll let you tell the story. You ended up in Europe.
Right. You think, but see, that's what happened, because, where we get around. As you're a musician, a lot of the kids ask me that all the time. How do you tend to continue getting involved with music? Well, you got to start getting out there, but people start talking about you. Mm-hmm. And they start saying, man, you heard of this guy, Chubby Carrier? He's a great drummer. People start talking about you. But as I'm playing that with my dad's band, I'm growing up, but I wanted to learn the accordion as well, because that was the second instrument that I really, really liked it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't go for it. But Daddy started teaching me. Yeah. Because my grandfather played, Daddy played, and he said, we need a third generation Zydeco artist out there carry a family, and that was me. So all of a sudden, that came about, learn how to play the accordion. I couldn't get gigs, so all of a sudden, Terrence Simeon was looking for a drummer. Now, I'm all grown up now. I'm 14, 15 years old. Terrence is calling around and say, hey, man, I'm looking for a drummer. I heard about you, Chubby Carrier. You're one of the better drummers in Zydeco music. I said, well, I play my daddy's style. I don't know if I play your style. Mm-hmm. He said, well, let's give it a shot, because I'm going to Europe. I said, you going where? He said, I'm going to Europe. I said, oh, my goodness. Wait a minute. We live in Louisiana. How you going to Europe? He said, I got a State Department tour. They're sending me to Switzerland. And I didn't even ask him how much I was getting paid or anything about the gig. I said,
care.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And that time we didn't go that soon, but I went at the age of 17, 18 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I was just in high school. So I had to go get permission I was a senior. Okay. My teacher started saying, what are you doing? I said, ma'am, I told this to all my teachers. I said, I might have an opportunity to further and better my career as a musician.
Yeah.
They told me, what do you mean, son? Well, I got an opportunity to go to Europe. This is me in the middle school. And they goes, what do you want from me? I need a permission slip. Send me with some homework to Europe. I'll do it, I promise you.
You think they believed you?
They believe me. All the teachers believe me. They said, that's a great opportunity, young man. I can't say no to that. Let me sign you up. You got my
Nice.
permission. So all the teachers gave me permission, sent me with homework.
Yeah.
But come back and get everything done, you know? I'm on it, Miss White. I'm on it,
Yeah.
you know? So Terrence gave me that phone call, and I went to Europe. I spent 2 weeks in Europe with Terrence.
Okay.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I think I read that y'all played 14 shows. You were opening up for another band,
Fats Domino.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then opening for Fats Domino. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
1985. And talking about Fats Domino, I found my three. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'm in that neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going, this is awesome. My
Yeah.
mom grew up listening to this music. Now I met the man himself.
That's amazing.
Yes, that's what he brought me.
I mean, what was it like to have to? I mean, you're going on tour in Europe, and then as a 17-year-old, and then you come back to Louisiana, and you're playing these little smaller gigs. So, I mean, did that like kickstart your career, or did you come back and still have to kind of build
Well,
up and up and up?
It did. Because Terrence asked me to, I wasn't supposed to be his drummer. I was going in, setting in for another drummer
Okay.
that didn't want to fly.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm going to Europe. But when I got back, I said, man, I didn't think Zydeco music would ever leave Louisiana. Because the furthest I went was Texas. We went Louisiana, Texas, because I had family in Texas. That's the furthest we went. And he asked me to go to Europe. I was like, man, you don't have to ask me twice. Yeah, I'm going to Europe with you, you know? But when he got back, it did something to me. And I said, wow, maybe that just gave me a thought about what I can do for my career and how I can get started. So I said, wait a minute, let me just sit back and think about this. So Terrence says, well, I need a drummer. I said, let me go with Terrence for a little bit and learn the ropes.
Yeah.
So I left with Terrence for 2.5 years.
Okay.
I toured with him for about 2.5 years, but I wasn't going to stay because I wanted to have my own band.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see what it was like first.
Right.
And I
right.
said, this is it. This is the guinea pig. I'm going to see what it's like.
Yeah, so
and we
you-
traveled all over the United States, all 50 states, Canada,
Wow.
Europe, you name it. We traveled. And I said, with Zydeco music. Okay, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and at such a young age too, that's really awesome. And I want to hear about whenever you sort of broke off and started doing your own thing. So we'll talk about that right after this break. You guys stay with us.
Homegrown is sponsored by Restoral Dental, making the best dentures in Lafayette. Restoral Dental.
Welcome back to Homegrown. Chubby Carrier with us today. We just finished talking about going on tour in Europe, opening for Fats Domino. That was a huge experience for you. You came back to the U.S. and you ended up touring with Terrence Simeon and his band for a while.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. And then the whole thing started because I went on tour with Terrence.
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to stay in his band, but I liked it so much. And I said, I need to learn the ropes before I start my own band.
Yeah.
And I said, this is probably my opportunity to go out and learn about the business itself.
Yeah.
And see if the people were really accepting Zydeco music around the world.
Yeah.
And guess what? They were.
They did. And you told us that you went all over the United States, you went to Canada, you went everywhere. So that was for a couple of years, and then you decided to go off on your own. And is that when the Bayou Swamp Band came about, or was that still a little bit down the road?
No, that's when it came about
Okay.
because I was touring with Terrence and I kept telling myself, I want to start my own band, but I don't know when. So 87 came in, 88 rolled on. I said, no, I don't think I'm ready yet. Let me go a little further along the road. Then about right around the end of 88, I started thinking, okay, I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think it's time. So I started going, thinking about, all right, what's the name of my band? I don't even have a band name. Start with that first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my daddy was like, Roy Carrier and the Night Rockers. I said, I don't want to go with another Roy Carrier. I tried the Chubby Carrier thing. I said, no. But then I did Chubby Carrier, you know, and people kept saying, hey, y'all must be from the swamps of Louisiana. And I started thinking, everybody asking me from the swamps of Louisiana. And I thought about it. Chubby Carrier and the Bayou Swamp Band,
Yeah.
right? So I formed my own band in 1989, went to Terrence and told him, I said, hey, man, this is where I'm going to stop. This is where I'm going to start my own band. Hey, man, go for it, because they're asking for more Zydeco music out here. I said, I noticed that. That's why I want to, I think it's time.
Yeah.
So in 1989, I formed Chubby Carrier and the Bayou Swamp Band.
Love it. I love it. And you were still young
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, I was 19 now.
Yeah. So already you're like fully making a career out of this at still a teenager, really.
Yes.
I mean, an adult,
Yeah.
but still a teenager.
teenager,
That's
though.
amazing. And
I know.
so
Wasn't
what?
even legal to get in the bars.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. But you're playing in them, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So when that started, like I told you, I had to give it time to think about it.
Yeah.
And I got got me an agent.
Okay.
Again, you got to go rub in elbows. You
Yeah.
got to go and see what it's like before you get started. Because I don't want to throw myself in the ditch and can't get out.
Yeah.
But that came about, and I noticed that people started asking Terrence, I need more Zydeco bands at this festival. And it's a blues festival, or it's a folk festival. It don't have no Zydeco festival. Not on the road, not yet.
Yeah.
But Terrence was like the outsider. You're looking in, but the outsider looking in, but bringing in that style of music. But it completely changed the pace of the festival. Because you got the blues, you can hear the blues. Doom, doo, doo,
Yeah.
doo, 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 boom, boom. You know, it's slow paced it. Then also we come up, da, 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 and everybody going, this is happy music, you know? So festival goers and buyers were asking, where can I find more Zydeco music?
Yeah.
I started thinking, that's time. They're asking for it. That was my time. Especially when I started hearing promoters asking for more Zydeco music. So that's when I formed Chubby and Nobody Used Swamp Band.
Yeah. And when did it sort of really take off? I know at some point you ended up with a Grammy Award.
Yeah. But you see, that didn't happen in time because that's not, everybody think that just like, I went out there and I won a Grammy. No. It's called paying your dues.
Right.
I'm talking about I'm sleeping in hotels that I don't even want to go near. I'm sleeping in vans. I'm sleeping in trains. I'm sleeping in planes, wherever, just to make that happen, right? You know, paving the way. My dad and them said, listen, we have the gravel road. Y'all go pave it, you know? So I said, you know what? I guess hard work going to pay off sooner or later, right? So as I'm going into the years, we got Terrence and his wife decided to go after the Grammys. And I said, what are y'all doing? They said, we're going to try to get a category for us. I said, no, man, they don't pay attention to little people like us. Well, they're going to hear our voice because we're going to go to those meetings. And we're going to let them know that we've been around longer than the Grammys.
Yeah.
We should have a category.
Yeah.
So they used their voice while they had a voice.
Wow. So they're the ones that got the Grammy category for Zydeco music?
Yeah, they tell me, go out there and get me at least 45 to 50 people to sign up and do albums. You get assigned on the board of committee. You got to get on board the membership for the Grammys, you know? So if you do all your legwork, then we possibly can vote you a category. And it won. It won. Because we all came, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Terrence called every Zydeco band he can think of and said, man, we got to do this. We need memberships.
Yeah.
We need y'all to join forces because we need a category. They started the category for about 3-4 years. It was the best Cajun or Zydeco album category.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden it dissipated because they had too many categories.
Okay.
They had a category for everything. And then all of a sudden they decided to cut back. We were one of those they cut back on.
Okay.
So now it's no longer known as the best Zydeco or Cajun album. It's now the best regional roots album.
Okay.
Yeah, and that didn't ring a bell.
Does that make it a little bit broader? So it's not just Zydeco music. You're kind of up against other genres?
Other genres. African, Asian,
Okay.
Hawaiian, that group.
Yeah.
It's not just a Zydeco Cajun album. So, but I was one of the participants that won in that category for the best Zydeco Cajun album.
Before it switched.
Yes, ma'am.
And what year was that?
That was in 2010.
And that was with your son. You were telling me before we got started.
That's right. That's
You
right.
got to do that with
My
him.
son was on the album with me because he played drums just like I played drums with my daddy's band.
Yeah.
So we got together and we won that Grammy together. And I was so pleased to know that my kid was on the album with me.
Yeah.
What a thrill, huh?
I know. How special is that? I mean, all those memories that you have with your son creating that album and then winning a huge award for it. What does that feel like?
That was fantastic because to know that my kid, like I said, I didn't force it to him. He fell in love with it just like I did. And he said, Daddy, I want to be on that album.
Yeah.
I want to play on your album. And I said, you got it, son. You know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, we'll have one more block. Unfortunately, we're soon going to have to wrap up, but we have more to talk about right after the break, so you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be back for more. Welcome back. Ending this episode with Mr. Chubby Carrier here. I'm so sad that we don't have much time left, but my last question or couple of questions for you are just about the impact that you want to have, not only on aspiring musicians for sure, and especially the young ones who are going to continue Zydeco music, but also the impact you want to have on just people who enjoy listening to your music. What do you hope to leave people with?
But this is what it is for me. Like I said in that last segment, I was talking about my kid. Because what it is, I'm trying to keep our culture rich. I'm trying to keep it alive. Right now, it's dying. Okay? And it breaks my heart to see that our culture is dying.
Yeah.
My kid came on the album. He was in my band for a little while. It's good to see that next generation is continuing the Zydeco music, right? So what I did, I started thinking, I laid back. I'm not touring as much anymore. I'm thinking about what can I do? What can I do to preserve and bring back our culture stronger than ever? I started thinking. I started saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into schools and start talking with kids. I'm going to start getting out there and using my voice while I have a voice to let them know, hey, y'all, our Cajun and Zydeco music, y'all liking it? Yes. But guess what? It's dying. We don't want it to die, right? So I bring it to them, and I introduce the instruments to them. I'm letting them know how important it is to keep our heritage alive, because it's so rich to where to now it's distant itself. There's nobody even listening to it like they should. Nobody even paying attention to it like they should. So I'm going into schools, and you should see what these kids look like when I get through talking about Zydeco music, the history, and not letting them know I brought my Grammy, and I bring it out to them and says, you from Churchbourne and you won a Grammy? How did you do that? You know?
Yeah.
Hard work. You know what I mean? My heart was into it. I told them I wanted to be a football player, guys, but it didn't work out. But my heart, I said, what am I going to do now? I think I'm going to go ahead and start playing Zydeco music as a professional musician, but I'm going to take it to another level. And guess what? You can too. But now, everybody asking me, what's next? I am taking it to schools. I'm taking it to kids so they can learn and they can at least be introduced to Zydeco music. You know, I think that was my calling, to go out there and start talking to these kids about how important it is to keep our heritage, tradition, and culture alive. Because if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And I feel like I want to be one of them. At least I can say I did my part. So that's what I want to leave. When Chubby said he's retired, I pass it on to the next generation. Even though it wasn't in my family. Because I tell you what, we just played the Rocking Bull right there in Lafayette. And I had all these schools. I introduced the teachers and principals in. I said, y'all come to the show, bring the kids. You wouldn't believe how many kids was on that stage wanting to play the washboard.
Yeah.
And this was so interesting. I'm saying, look at the kids in here from Bell to View Elementary and all these elementary schools coming here.
That's awesome.
The kids remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Well, and I
weekend.
think what you said is a really important point, showing them that they can do it too. Because I think a lot of kids are maybe taught, unfortunately, that music is not a valid career route, but it is.
And they
And
think
you're
it's-
showing them that.
Exactly. Because they think that's not a career.
Yeah.
You're not going to, I tell them that story too, because people tell me, you're never going to amount to anything, Chubby. You playing music. Where you going to go with that? I told that to the kids. When am I speaking to you guys? Listen to me. These kids, when I was growing up, were telling me I was going to never amount to anything in music. And I said, here I am holding the Grammy from Church Point, Louisiana. And they went, wow. So don't you ever let them tell you wrong.
Yeah.
Now, they tell me this. We don't have instruments in our house. We don't have any instruments. And that's true. A lot of families don't have instruments in their house. So what we should do now, again, here I go. I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it into schools. I'm bringing all these instruments. I'm putting it in their hands. I can't play that. Well, how you know you can't play it? You never tried.
Right. And it's also, I think, teaching them that they can ask for an instrument. Like, it's okay to ask for that. Hey, Christmas just passed.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe next year,
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
for an instrument.
Yes, ma'am. So I bring these
know?
little accordions.
Yeah.
I bring these little tiny washboards, and I give them a chance to play.
Yeah.
They go, wow, this is great. So I'm getting mamas, I'm getting grandmas going, hey, you, Mr. Carrier, I had to buy a washboard because of you.
Good.
I said, oh, you did? Oh, my daughter and my son just wanted a washboard for so bad. How do I get one? You see? But you see what I'm talking about? You got to put it in their hand. You got to introduce it to them.
Yeah.
And that's my calling now. So this is what I'm doing. I'm bringing it to them. Because my grandfather and my daddy, even though it's in my household, okay, I was born with it. A lot of kids not born with it. It's not around them. So I'm going to go and bring it to them.
What an important mission that you are on. I hope we can get so many young kids to fall in love with Zydeco music like you did. So let's, fingers crossed, let's get you guys playing out there. I am not musically inclined, so I'm going to leave it up to you guys. But Chubby, thank you so much for being with me today and chatting.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. And thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Homegrown.
Homegrown is sponsored by Restoral Dental, making the best dentures in Lafayette. Restoral Dental.